Listen, I believe in comeuppance. So like at some point, I'm sorry, I'm high consistency. There must be comeuppance. And sometimes I am the comeuppance. Sometimes it's me. It's me. Sometimes I gotta be the comeuppance. I'm like, well, karma didn't get you.
You're like, no one else is doing it. So
here I am. The number of times my mouth has been the comeuppance, and my husband is always like, you didn't even leave him anything to stand on. I'm like, no, why would you? Annihilate, eviscerate. What's the problem? And he's like, somebody left that conversation crying. I'm like, yes, they did. Is there any other way to be? Don't do nothing and you won't get comeuppance. Come on.
Welcome to the story. It's story time with Skye. You can fall in love and laugh until you cry. It's story time with Skye. It's story time with Skye.
Welcome to Storytime with Skye. I'm your host, New York Times bestselling author Skye Warren. Every week, I tell a brand new story based on the heroes, heroines, and meet-cutes that you want to hear about. I bring on some of my favorite romance authors as guests to help me craft a hilarious, steamy, and ultimately romantic story with a guaranteed happily ever after. So pour a glass of something fun. Welcome to the story.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Storytime with Skye. I'm Skye Warren, and I'm here with one of my author buds, Nana Malone, and she writes sexy feel-good romance, particularly royal romance and action adventure. Hi, Nana.
Hi, Skye. Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm in a good mood. I think the extra hour of sleep did a body good.
You can have that every night, right?
Yeah. I mean,
time is made up.
It's the first week is always like the best week. It's like, oh, like I worked out today. I was like alert. It was amazing. And I always forget that that's the feeling of just, I mean, imagine if I actually went to bed an hour earlier every day.
Imagine. Okay. So today we're going to tell a story.
Okay. Let's do it.
And the readers gave us 3 prompts.
All right.
What they are. So the hero, Bodyguard.
Yes.
You've written bodyguards before, right?
Many. many bodyguards. Yes.
I don't know if I've specifically written a bodyguard like as a job title, but I've definitely written heroes who are protecting the heroine all the time. Serious protection.
Yes. Wait, but the diamond one, wasn't he technically a bodyguard? No.
That one is with like the North Security. They all did ex-military stuff. And then in situations where people needed, but they weren't like, I'm hiring you to be my bodyguard, you know?
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
But I feel like also it's open, you know, we can do whatever we want. So it could happen that way.
There are no writing police, as Theodora Taylor says. So we can do whatever we want.
Yes, exactly. The heroine, Ballerina.
Okay. I am an ex-ballerina myself.
Were you? I was thinking about that. I was like, did I know that she did some kind of sport or something?
I did lots of sports, but I used to dance. And like right after I got onto point shoes, I was like, I'm not going to survive this. Plus, I just like my body was just wrong for ballet. So I was constantly fighting my body. I mean, I just like had like very like, although you see ballerinas that look more like I did then now, but especially in the early 80s, they were like, but thighs, not going to work. Mm-hmm. And I was always getting told to like tuck under. And I was like, and I remember looking at my ballet teacher and being like, I'm African. I don't know what you want. And she was not pleased. But yeah, no, I did ballet for some time.
Alrighty. So we're going to ballet it up.
Love it.
I have written a ballet heroine.
I do remember that.
Yes. So
have you written more than one?
I can only remember one specifically.
Okay.
Perhaps I've done others who did sort of dance. I do like to do an artistic heroine.
Okay. Or maybe I'm thinking of the pianist or was it violinist?
Violinist. I've done.
Okay, I'm seeing the covers in my head and I'm like, no, it's violin.
Yes.
Okay.
There was one that had ballet shoes on it, but then we ended up seeing him with a hot guy. But I have mixed feelings about that. I feel like we should go back to the ballet shoes anyway.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. No. I love an object cover.
Yes. How do they get together? Ballerina, Bodyguard. And the answer is the meet cute. And the meet cute is a disastrous blind date.
Okay. Are they actually on the right blind date, or is it a situation where one of them thinks that someone else is their date? Are we doing that? Like, what are we?
It's completely open. We have full power here. We're very powerful people right now.
I love this for us. I mean, well, what's the tone?
Okay. So I feel like whenever I do this, it ends up being this like really cool merger of like my style with the other author's style. But it doesn't have to be. So it can be like we can mood right, you know what I mean? However we want it to be. But in terms of like what we have in common, we definitely write steamy. We definitely both, I think, love the suspense angle.
Yes.
So I don't know. So, okay, they can be on a disastrous blind date together. But I also had the thought of like, what if she's on a disastrous blind date with someone else and he swoops in?
We could do a swoop in, which is why I was asking, because I tend to lean a lot on like my rom-com roots. So I always make a disastrous date funny. But like, that's why I was like, what's the tone? Because I could also make it very suspenseful. So I like her on a bad date with someone else.
Okay.
Like if her date shows up and he's already like super drunk or very rude, or then he gets to automatically be like, that's enough. And then so if he's not on a date, what is he doing there?
So I feel like he could either be there sort of circumstantially, which it's not my favorite, but like it could be.
I don't love that. Oh, what if he's there surveilling the guy?
Yes.
Like if he works in security.
Yes. He could be following the guy. Yeah, he could.
We could have it that someone's already hired him to protect her.
Yes, like a protective parent or sister, and she refuses, you know, she's like, I'm just trying to live my life. Maybe she's like,
ooh.
You know how we were talking about the other day in a group about how like when you tip over into this thing where you're kind of recognizable by some people and you reach this level of fame where you're mostly a regular person.
Yes.
Trying to do your art, just trying to do her ballet stuff. But maybe she has hit a certain level of fame where she is starting to get like press and things like that. And so most people, because it's still like, most people cannot name like 5 ballerinas, right? Like who are dancing right now. And so most people still don't know, but some people know. And maybe she started to get like creepy fan mail and her sister's like, you got to get protection. And she's like, that's not how.
Oh, so we're doing the Bodyguard as in the movie, The Bodyguard. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. But like, I mean, without like the creepy angle of that, but
okay, take the creepy angle of The Bodyguard out, but that's the beginning.
Yes, yes.
Where, you know, he's brought in and sort of against her will.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm just living my life, being famous and fabulous and dancing. And it could be funny if or just like a really good point, if he's like the latest in a long line of attempted bodyguards.
Maybe she has fired all the bodyguards and for curtailing her, you know, too much and just being too close and restrictive. And so maybe, he's put on her detail as like a secret bodyguard. He has to be like almost undercover about it, but then he has to.
I love an undercover bodyguard. You know that, Skye. You know I love an undercover bodyguard.
But he has to come out of undercover because this guy is being a real creep.
Okay, so do we want to give him an undercover like role as like someone she recognizes that she is like, oh my God, he's so hot, And then what's he doing here? And then she discovers he's her bodyguard and she's pissed. So she hates him. Pissed.
Okay. Well, if she knows him even a little bit, like maybe the ruse was that he works like at the theater where she dances / practices. And so she's like, this is not that weird. I live in this theater district area. He happened to be here and save me. So maybe, yeah, she doesn't realize yet that he was there in a bodyguard capacity.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah, because it doesn't have to even be that she knows him. She's going to be like, hey,
yeah,
aren't you the guy that was doing the computers or the tech or aren't you the sound guy? And, or something, whatever. Something sexier than the sound guy.
Yeah,
no hate to sound engineers because we need you and you're excellent. But
no, I think because of his stature in my mind, he's only going to pass for security, but he could be security at the theater and she still thinks not related to me. And then I just happen to run into him. But then she's going to figure it out,
Yes. Yeah. We can do that.
This date guy is going to factor in, or is he just like the way they meet?
I don't like coincidences. If I put you in the book, I want you to serve multiple purposes.
That's fair. I appreciate that.
Because then it's an easy putting of the gun on stage.
Right.
Because then it's like, well, I already told you he was a douche. I don't know why you're surprised that now he becomes a stalker, killer, or something later.
Right. Okay.
Or at least a red herring.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, because he has to be creepy enough that the guy's going to step in. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He can't just be like mildly annoying.
He's got to be. That makes it easy if he's like clearly been drinking or just like a little too handsy or.
Yeah,
I guess it would have to be a lot too handsy.
I read this like report of like someone's horrible date, and I think like on a Reddit or something like that. And this guy was just like saying a bunch of questionable stuff. And she was just like eating to like give herself something to do other than like converse with him. And he was just like, oh, you really love putting that in your mouth, don't you? And she was just like, oh my God, this is terrible. And she was like, I think I'm just going to go. And he was just like, I already know where you live, right?
Yeah.
I know. So I know.
Oh no. Ladies, this is why we don't let people pick us up for dates.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's going to step in. Like, she's going to be like horrified. He's going to step in. And I feel like the good thing that would come out of this is that like she'll admit that she'll have to admit on some level that like she's not safe. You know what I mean? And maybe she'll still be playing it off. This was not the stalker who's sending me emails about my dancing. This is just some random creep. But it still was nice to have a big guy backing her up,
Yeah. I mean, I'd still like it if she is sort of like, because it'll give us like immediate attention. If she's still sort of like really annoyed about it. Like if she's a little like sassy about it, like, fine, I had a bad date and it was handy to have you here. So you can stay, but we are not friends. And here's how it's also going to go. You're going to give me all this room and all this stuff. And he's like, that's cute. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the thing is that kind of like the kind of distance watching he's been able to do for her has its limits. And this incident is going to make him be like, my security assessment is you need closer contact. You need closer watching, which she's not going to like. She didn't even like this level,
Yes.
And she's not going to appreciate going to the next level with it. She's like, sure, okay, a bad date can happen to anyone.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you should be in my house. You can sit outside in your car.
Yeah. Be in your car. Okay. Because otherwise, what city are we taking place in?
Well, if she dances and if she's like serious, I mean, the most serious places are like NYC.
New York, London. Yeah. San Francisco too. But New York is the easy one.
Okay. I don't know if I know that much about San Francisco, but you live over there, that direction.
Well, I'm SoCal. I know next to nothing. I'm like, I've been to the Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay. So
Views are immaculate.
we don't know.
Yeah. New York is great. New York, we could do New York. The thing with New York, though, is he can't possibly sit outside in a car because she's going to be.
It's true. Yeah. No,
she's a famous ballerina. She's going to be in a high rise.
Right.
That maybe her daddy pays for because
ballerinas do not make a lot.
They do not make a lot.
I think if her family was urging her to get a bodyguard, like they have money.
They have money. Or she could have been like some famous enough that she's been in like a film or something.
Yeah.
Or like named as some like fashion house muse or something like that.
Or like
get endorsements.
Right.
Because like, I mean, what's her name? My brain has already, and Misty Copeland has like endorsements and whatever. So Misty Copeland is rich, but most ballerinas are not.
Right. Maybe she did get some kind of deal. Like maybe something happened. She went viral and now the deals are pouring in and that's where the fame is coming from.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. Yes. Because that like is plausible too.
Yeah. And I also think, I mean, I think there's really this like liminal space of fame where I think when people start getting that kind of attention, even as something as simple as like going viral, they can, I feel like as society, we can turn them into like celebrities in our mind of like not real people. Even though they're such real people and, and people assume things like, well, of course, just get security, you're famous, and not realize that they don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, because it's especially weird with like influencers, though that's a hot topic either way. But like, imagine like, if you're getting deals. So if you're like a successful influencer, so you're getting deals and you're getting invited to things, but like most of it is like free access, not like, unless you're getting paid brand deals.
Right.
But like you have money, but you're not rich.
Right. Exactly. And then, maybe it's something like, I was just thinking of the book. Why can't I think of the title or the author's name? But it's a famous violinist. And the whole story it's like a memoir of how she lost it was stolen from her violin. And she was talking about how like it was stolen from her in a coffee shop and there was like video of it happening and it ended up changing her life, and she was talking about how like people online would comment and just be like, you were carrying $1 million violin like on the subway, like what are you doing, like don't you have a car? And she like a driver or whatever, and she's like, no, I didn't, like this was not even something I could really afford. It was kind of like, I think, given to her or something like that. It's, she's like, I'm an ordinary person, just like on the subway. So, okay. He has to come up.
All right. So he comes up. This guy's being creepy and saying terrible things. And bodyguard dude is sitting close enough to her that he can hear it. And he's letting it play because he understands her family has given very direct things because they hired him, not her. So he's been given directives.
Like really threatening her safety. Does he?
Yes.
So that he can make it very clear to this guy that, his security connections, like he has his name and number. If anything happens to her at this point, like he will be the number one suspect. Get out of here.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to break every bone in your body.
Right. Like as an aside. So personally crush you into pieces if you within my sight in the after like the next 1 minute.
Yeah.
Then she's like, first she's like, thank you, Good Samaritan. And then it's like, wait, you're here for
I know you.
Yeah. I've seen
wait. Yeah, I've seen you around. Don't you work at the theater? Blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, time to get you home. And then he'll like use her full name, like Miss So-and-so. And he's like, and then she's like, you were hired, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
And then she becomes far less compliant, which is what we live for.
I think he badgers his way, though, to her place. Because he's like, this is evidence that you aren't safe. This particular guy might even still try to go to your place because people are stupid.
Ooh, maybe she is compliant and he's like, I can walk you home. And like she kind of is like, oh, you work at the theater, right? And he's like, yes. And he's like, are you okay? And she doesn't, or we can like we can draw it out so she doesn't realize that he's a hired bodyguard. Because that's a better cliffhanger anyway. And she's like, my parents hired you, didn't they?
Yeah.
End scene.
Yeah. So that way we get a little bit of strolling through the city while she has her guard down.
Yes, guard down. And then he's nice. And then it's like a little bit flirty and like sexy. Cause then she's like, oh, this is what it should feel like. Oh my gosh. Yay. Swoon. And then she's like, wait a minute. And then he's got to be like, well, I just want to make sure you get home safe. And then he's like, your locks suck or whatever, something along the lines where she's like, what do you?
Right. If they're like outside his place, he could be like, look, that place across the street has a direct line of sight into your thing. Your blinds aren't even closed, like all this stuff. And she's going to be like, oh my God. Both like annoyed at his like insights, but also like, okay, he has a point, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of will convince her that to at least let him sweep her place, you know, like just check it all over.
Mm-hmm.
He goes up and checking. But then he's in her personal space and seeing all of her stuff and all of her awards, and that maybe she has like shoved in a corner. And then what? Are we gonna get a kiss? No, they're too mad at each other.
I mean, I love an angry kiss, but it doesn't seem plausible.
No, because she is angry, but he's still like professional.
Yes, he's professional. But maybe he does ask her, like, why aren't any of your awards displayed? Why aren't they up? And she's got like just a box of all her shit.
Yeah.
Because dun dun dun, we are hiding a deep wound in the corner with the trophies.
Yeah. I wonder if part of the reason why she's like really fighting the bodyguard thing is maybe something that happened when she was young where she was restrained. Like she didn't have a regular childhood. Maybe it was because she was doing the ballet. Her parents were really pressury about it.
Yeah.
It also, yeah, probably that. And then so it's
no, I mean, especially if she was like a ballet savant. Like, I don't know if you saw the documentary like years ago where we learned about Michaela something. She's like a Black ballerina, but you saw like there's like a whole documentary. And these kids, it's like the pressure. So like if she was like a ballet savant, kind of Misty Copeland was, because Misty Copeland started late at like 13. And her parents were like, this is, or I mean, if her parents are rich, they're like, well, you are a savant and you were to be protected, and you are like, she couldn't play because everyone's like, watch your legs. It's like every time Kidlet tells me she wants to go play like roller skate during volleyball season, and I'm like, what are you doing? Exactly. I'm like, you roller skate outside of volleyball season, crazy. Because she will fall like this. So maybe she's like super restricted. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't go anywhere. Her food was strictly monitored, like all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it would even affect your socialization, because she probably didn't even have regular school, like, it was just tutors and things like that. And so she never experienced the regular, that's partly why she's going on this terrible date. She never really learned how to meet guys, how to tell the creeps from the non-creeps. Like, she's just sort of stumbling her way through it as an adult, like advanced in this one part of her life, but maybe a little bit regressed in this other part of her life.
Yeah, no, I like that. That works. And especially if she's like, look, all of these dates are just practice. He's got to be like, I'm sure you saw, like, because he's got to be like a bodyguard. Like, there are red flags. You have to pay attention. And she's going to be like, dude, I need the practice. Okay. So any date you get, you accept. because
You remember, or did you watch New Girl? Did I just look up that?
only sporadically, not really.
There's this one part, it was kind of late. I think it was like in the last season or something where he was trying to show her red flags and he would just be like in dating apps and he'd be like, it lives with his mom. And she'd be like, oh, he's taking care of her. And he'd be like, no, like, like thing that he would say, like he would try to test her. He was trying to, teach her, like, if they say this, she'd be like, oh, she'd always think of a good reason for it. Be like,
Yeah. No, that's not, no. Yeah,
like,
no, that makes sense. That's
I could see him throwing out, like, he said this, that didn't strike you as a red flag. And she's like, I just thought, because it's true, your expectations of what's normal would be out of alignment, right?
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, as someone who didn't learn to date till very, very late, I had no idea. I was like, no, but he's so nice. He said that he forgot something at his apartment. No, he forgot nothing at his apartment. You do not both, in fact, have to go to his apartment to retrieve whatever it is.
Okay. So maybe they're in her place and he's kind of giving her a hard time about the date, like how she even ended up on a date with him. And what if he even maybe it's like not a kiss, but maybe they're in that conversation about it. And he's like, just who else are you even having a date with? And she's like, very ordinary, regular sounding people. And he's like, you thought he was regular. So show me your Tinder.
Yes, show me the dating app. Yes.
And he looks through the convos and he's like, of course, going to be like, absolutely not. No
way.
Deleting this,
no.
Removing this, the worst. Blocking this guy,
Oh, are we going to turn this into a teach me how to date scenario?
Oh, I do like it.
I do love a teach me how to date.
And she's going to get the phone back and be like, you deleted everyone. He probably deleted the Tinder app. You know what I mean? She's like, yeah. This is a little unreasonable. You can't expect a grown woman to never ever date. And he's like, but you're doing it all wrong. And she's like, okay. And you know how to do it? He's
yes.
Better than that. Yeah. So she's like, okay, mister, here's the deal. You want to protect me? You have to
teach me how to date.
You have to teach me how to date. / a little bit of fake dating. You know what I mean?
Yes.
She's like, fine. You know how you can protect me at all of these evening events?
What if she has an event that she has to have a date for?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm trying to get a date to this thing so I don't have to go by myself because it's like the 7th circle of hell.
Yeah.
And you've just ruined all my chances.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's like, I will go. Fine. And at first, so he comes to pick her up for this. Do they do a practice date or do they go all the way into that date?
Oh, we should do some mini practice dates.
Okay.
Give them a time to fall in love before, the actual event.
Okay.
Or because we want to work a kiss before the event, right?
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure how big the event was. So, okay. He's like, all right, I'll pick you up tomorrow at 8. And she is going to, after he leaves, probably call her sister and be like, how dare you? But also, did you meet this guy? Because he looks really hot. And does she tell her sister about the fake dating thing or no?
No, absolutely not. Because she just doesn't think to. Also, she's embarrassed because she doesn't know how to do things. And maybe she's also a little bit she loves her sister, but her sister got to have normalcy because she wasn't, or as much normalcy as the rich get, because she wasn't, a ballet prodigy. Maybe her sister is high up in the family company or something like that. And she's like, you need to have this. I worry about you. And she knows her sister means well. But she's like, but have you seen him? And her sister's going to be like, no, I just called the service and asked for someone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why? What's wrong with him? And she's going to be like, well, nothing, actually.
Yeah. Nothing.
Very much not nothing. Not anything. Nothing is wrong with that man.
Okay. He picks her up is he gonna, what is he gonna bring? Like flowers?
Yes, but it's got to be some kind of unique flower that like reminds him of her, because you can't bring roses. Boring.
It's like at her performances.
Yes. Oh yeah, so he's already seen it. He must know that she throws out roses. Maybe she's like, I'm allergic to roses, and he's like, well, obviously no roses. You don't like roses or whatever.
Yeah.
And then takes her, I don't know, a gardenia or something. Something.
Would it be like too dorky if he like, what if he's like, actually she doesn't like flowers. She gets flowers all the time and she's always throwing them away and always like feeling sad because they're cut, you know? Maybe it makes her sad. So he brings her like a plant, and maybe it's like,
I like that.
And maybe it's like a hardy plant, you know, where like she doesn't have to water it all the time because he knows she doesn't.
She's never there. She's a black mom. And he's like,
so he like brings her this plant and she's like, I know this is a little off, but also it's too cute. So like it still works, you know?
He's like, they don't need much light and not a lot of water. And what if he's like, I'll water it?
Yeah. What if she has even feelings about that? Like, oh, it's so thoughtful that he did that. But also, am I the kind of person who needs like stuff that can't be watered? Like, is that, you know, it's interesting, like kind of what are her goals?
Yeah. She should have feelings about that. Like she wants to be like a fully functional, like independent adult, but there's so much that she doesn't know, hasn't learned, hasn't experienced. So she feels a little bit like she's in a cage, and she's like, why don't I know how to do simple things? Like, why can't I keep a plant alive? Like anybody can do that. I mean, I can't. I'm not allowed to touch the plants in my house. I'm not even allowed to look at them, as my husband says. Like, don't look at it. Just walk by. I know two beautiful things cannot coexist. I know. Don't touch it. Don't look at it. Don't water it. But like, she's going to have feelings about that. Like,
yeah,
I want to be this person who can do these things, who's capable, who doesn't need bodyguards to check my dating apps, who doesn't need this. Like, I'm not a child.
Yeah. So they're going to move on. She's going to accept it graciously. And he's going to take her somewhere. Probably like if that restaurant is like an Italian, but like Italian restaurant, but like
it should be somewhere fun. Because like she's used to like the very prim and like very like she's used to like fancy and like serving sizes this big, and he's got to be like, you need to feed her. And
exactly, like she's
like some like, even if it's maybe some place that you also assist in the meal, that requires like, or even a cooking class where it's like, we're gonna make our own dinner or like something, and she's gonna be like, I don't cook.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's a term, but like something that requires her to like, and it's like messy and fun and like not contained.
Yeah. I was also envisioning like a place that, like you said, like normally it'd be stuffy and this and small portion sizes. And I was picturing like a Middle Eastern restaurant with giant plates and kind of like you sit on cushions and there's like hookah smoke and maybe like a belly dancer.
You eat with your hands and
exactly. And it's just not the kind of place that she's ever been.
Yeah.
And it's kind of loud and boisterous and she likes it, but also it's new to her. And
it's intimidating and it's awkward a little bit.
And I think she has to be like, maybe if she feels awkward, she should just say it. You know what I mean? Like, she should just be like, okay, this is awkward. Our date's supposed to be awkward. And he's like, first of all, yes. But second of all, you know, she's going to be like, what's the script? What are we supposed to be talking about? And he's like, well, you can like ask each other about like, you know, your goals and your dreams and your experiences. And she's going to be like, okay, then you tell me. And he's like, well, so this is where he's going to try to keep his distance. He's going to try to be like,
yes,
well, you know, theoretically, a guy might say, and she's like, no, not theoretically. I want your actual answer. If you're fake dating me, then do it, you know?
Yeah, no, I like that. Like you're going to actually have to fake date me.
Yeah.
Like I'm supposed to be getting the full experience.
Yeah.
And then maybe he makes like a little crack, like we are not giving you the full experience. You're not ready for that.
Yeah. Also, I think she'll point out, like, even when he even returns the favor, like, of like asking about her, maybe she'll answer something and he'll add something on. He'll be like, oh, so like, did you go to school for dancing? And she'll be like, oh, I went to this school. And he'll be like, and graduated with honors. Like because he's already read like this dossier on.
Yes. He's read our whole file.
He's going to be like, you have me at a disadvantage. You know all the stuff about me because I'm your client basically. And I don't know about you. So you're going to have to spill. So he's going to like accidentally he's going to start trying to give her surface level stuff, but then he's going to accidentally spill his actual wound story.
Yes. What is his wound story?
So, I mean, he's into protecting people. So it definitely would be about someone getting hurt, like on his watch.
Yep. He had to have lost someone. And it doesn't even have to be in the nature of the job. Like maybe when he was younger and he couldn't that's usually where it comes from anyway. When he couldn't do something to protect someone. So he became someone who could do something to protect someone.
Yeah, I just had this vision of having a brother who had like a serious illness and how the whole family would orient to that.
Yeah.
And so there was like this long decline and eventually he passed and the parents were stricken like for years, decades really. And he had just grown up with this deep sense of helplessness. So it just became like, as he went out and like graduated high school and just thought about what he wanted to do with his life, it just became like, what is the most action I can take so that I won't ever have to feel helpless again?
Yeah. Become the protector.
Yeah.
And then we make it as that. I love how I'm like, okay, so when we have the book too, but we have it even as he even like really geared towards protecting his parents and taking care of them and trying to be like the perfect son after they lost their other son. Mm-hmm. So all of those things, like everything he does is in like protection and service of others.
Yeah. Okay. So he reveals this thing about his brother and she is obviously stricken because it's a sad story and she understands him much better now. And she feels not bad per se, but like she understands why he has so much fervor about protection, right? Like why it's so personal to him. And so she doesn't take it as offensive. Like she has her personal reasons for not wanting it, but he has his personal reasons for providing it.
Right. So it breaks down to her like, I really don't want this a little bit.
Yeah, I think it does.
We haven't delved into like personality types, just so we know. Like, I forget, you are an Enneagrammer. Okay, so what are their Enneagrams? So I know that where we're gonna make them fight.
I think he might be like a 2-1.
That makes sense because the protector. Well,
like I often think of 2s as being like just super lovey and not like alpha, but I feel like you could be alpha as a 2.
Yeah, a 2-1 because you're going to want to do the right thing.
Yeah, and
which is why it's got to be it's got to be a 2-1, not a 2-3.
Yeah. Yes, correct. And she could be like a 4-3. So if you guys don't know Enneagram, basically it's a method of describing someone's personality. So there's like 9 numbers. I'm a 5-wing 4, which basically means I like to philosophize. I like to just be really cerebral and also have a little bit of an artistic bent.
So I'm a 1-2, 1-wing 2, which means that I'm generally like the one who has needs things to be done correctly. I'm the crusader. I'm the one who was like, no, but this is not the right thing to do, which sometimes makes me a little judgmental. The 2-wing makes me geared towards helper, which makes me appear outgoing and warms up that's not the right thing to do. It makes me I can be a little perfectionist in there. But, ones are the ones who are like, no, we get it done and it gets done like this. And if it's not the right way, I will go a little bit. not to other people, just to myself as I'm like spitting out. I'm like, but that's not the right thing to do. It helps build because for the other writers there's a great website that I love. I'm sure there's like a million, but the one I love is like the Enneagram Institute. One of the key things with the Enneagram Institute is that it will tell you literally what you look like in a relationship. It's so easy. And it's a Cliff Notes guide to like what your main conflicts are going to be. So you just go like, oh, a 4 and a 2. What will they fight about?
That I found out that each Enneagram also has 3 different subtypes.
You did.
I only learned that really recently. But anyway, so if she's a 4 wing 3, that basically would mean that she's really independent, really artistic, really a little bit rebellious. 4s are, which I think suits what she does. A lot of like, it's very her art about her ballet dancing.
Yes, it's the art. It's always about the art.
It's about the art with a little bit of rebellion. And then the wing 3, I think just makes sense because she has achieved so much. So 3s are the achievers.
Yes.
And for her to have achieved what she has done, I mean, you don't do it accidentally, really. Even if part of he's not comfortable with this new reality and this new level of fame, like she definitely worked to achieve this.
Yeah. 3s are very driven. The motivators behind the drive is somewhat perfectionistic, but they also want to be seen doing the thing. They need that, which is also going to stem from her parents being like, you will be perfect. So I think a 4-3 is really like that fits her perfectly.
As a primary 1, like he's going to just be like, there is a right way. And that's the way.
Yes.
And no compromises, no nothings. And 4, she's going to be like, there's a lot of ways to do things and I'm going to do it my way.
Yes. So she can be a fun heroine. Like when he's like, all right, so what we're going to do is, and she's going to go off schedule. She's going to be like, but I wanted to go into the flower shop. So I did. Or I wanted to go into here. And he's like, you have to tell, like they're going to bicker about how he goes about protecting her. Like that's going to be like an easy thing. And then off the top of my head, God, I haven't been to the website in so long. I want to like look up exactly what their major conflict is. Because it just makes it a smidgen easier when it's like laid out for you.
No, I am like an Enneagrammer, but I don't even think I have done this for my characters. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I do it. Usually it's the first thing I do as I'm building, because then I can just like orient them. Because like I'm a 1, so I write a lot of 1s, 3s, and 6s because those are the ones that
we're familiar with 7, 8s, and 9s though. That's the thing if I'm going to do that, because I don't know them as well.
Yeah. 7s are technically the direct opposite of me. So 7s are like, joie de vivre, and like, let's try it. And that is so the antithesis. Like every time someone's like, let's do this, I'm like, hold on, let me get some information. And I'm like, well, there's got to be a right way to do this. Like just the idea of just like, let's just try it to be spontaneous and fun. Like the healthier I am, like the more mental health, like when I'm in my mental health, like even spot, I will look more like a 7 because I'll be like, okay. And you're not going to get resistance. I'll be like, sure, I'll try it. Like anyone who's ever met me and is like, if I've ever said like, yeah, no, let's try it. This thing without a plan. That's when I'm feeling really good. But 7s are like, we know a lot of 7s. You see them like they tend to be a lot of actors and a lot of like performers, but we also know a lot in like the author world. Those ones that are just like, and like they're usually very happy. Like they're like, let's try it. And I'm always like, oh, it's that way. 8s tend to be crusaders, like charging in with a sword.
I do recall challengers, like they want to challenge. The way the context that I heard it is like challenge people to be better, you know?
Yes.
It's a little bit 1-ish, but different, I guess. But
yeah.
Okay. So this is going to tell you their main conflicts.
Yeah. So this is going to tell you the main conflicts. So let's see. So we said he's a helper. He's a 2. one, and then yes, compatibility with other types. So he's a 2, she's a 4. See what it says. Potential trouble spots or issues. Usually 2s and 4s make better friends and colleagues than intimates. Surprisingly, this pairing is rare in intimate relationships. One would think they'd be a natural fit with each other. The rescuer 2 and the rescued 4, the lost child and the parental figure. The problem with that is it can be too much emotionally and unspoken demands in this pairing for their own good. 2s and 4s tend to have emotional issues in common, which allows them to understand each other readily while also laying the groundwork for potential problems and conflicts. They both need closeness and intimacy and tend to cling to anyone who responds to them sufficiently. Over the long term, there's a tendency to become competitive for attention or for one person to feel better liked and more appreciated than the other. Interesting. 2s tend to find 4s too moody and temperamental, led too much by their feelings and unconscious impulses. So I like that second part better. Like if he's like, she's a little temperamental and impulsive.
So I just like Googled problems with Enneagram 1 wing 2 and 4 wing 3. And it said,
sorry. We said he was a 1 wing 2, not a 2 wing 4. No, sorry, not a 2 wing 1. Okay. Did we say he was a 2 or a 1? We said 1, right? He's a 1. Okay.
No, I think he's
a 2. He's a 2. Okay.
Yeah. So you had it right.
Okay.
So where were we in the story? They're
on a date and he's just like shared his wounds.
They're having a good time. So it's a positive. So basically something has to go wrong.
Yes.
They should get through a whole date. So that means actually walking her back to her place. And then she can kind of be playful. Like, is this the part where you kiss me? And he's like,
yes.
Want? And he's going to be like, would you ask if this was a regular date? And he would say, no, I would just like know if she's into it or not. And then she's going to be like, well, do you know? And then he's going to lean in and kiss her.
But he should struggle with that because.
Right. Maybe he resists and he doesn't just lean in and do it initially just because he's like, yeah, that's going to end poorly for me. But then when she goes and like, he can't help it.
Yeah.
So he does it. And then of course, like it's worse than he thought it would be, AKA better than he thought it would be, because now he won't be able to forget that it was not like
pants feelings.
Mm-hmm.
This is a podcast, so you're not seeing, but I'm dancing for sure.
He is dancing. I am appreciating that, but sitting like a slug.
But wait, where is he staying?
It's a really good question because we kind of said she needs like closer contact and like closer security.
She needs closer contact. So is he next door? Did we just put him next door? And are we just like, oh, your sister already put me up in the vacant apartment next door?
Yeah. What if that is the case and she doesn't know it till right now? So like,
yes,
she's like, goodbye. And he's like, goodbye. And then like not maintaining eye contact, just like goes and unlocks his next door apartment and walks in. And she's like,
especially if he's across the hall.
Yeah. Oh, across the hall. Yes, exactly. And she'll be like,
yes.
Like he'll just go to the door and she'll like go knock on the door and be like, are you kidding me right now? And he'll be like,
yes,
your sister wanted me to keep an eye on you.
Yeah. I mean, and especially if the kiss got, out of hand.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my God, wait, is she a virgin? Are we doing that?
I sort of feel like, I mean, if she really is this protected, like what opportunity does she have,
So let's make her a little bit irritated because she thinks it's about to go down. And she's like tugging him in. And that's what a kiss feels like.
Yes. He's like, and that's how it's done. Anyway.
Yes. So good night.
Yeah. Because I think it's also interesting, like she's been so physical, so intensely physical, but it's all been in pursuit of this goal. And that's very different than pleasure and, and the ways we experience that. So it's going to be, this kiss is going to be truly like mind shifting for her. It's like, oh, there are things that I can just do because they feel good and they don't. They're just for feeling good.
Yeah. Because they're fun.
And maybe even like she viewed sex as like a thing to do and didn't understand that like the kissing could be that good. the fourth, because also fever.
And then, maybe he's like, get to go in and lock the door. Like, I mean, so he's like listening for every lock.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she's locked in, then she's of course watching him, and she's like, how could he not? So she's in the peephole, like, how could he not? Or pardon me, rich people don't have a peephole. They have a security panel. So she's like, I'm in. Are you happy now? And then she watches him walk across the hall, and she's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So of course she's like right out her door, like,
yeah.
How?
And then she's going to like push her way into his apartment, just like, and it's going to be decorated in a super bland way, because it's just, and maybe that's where they do it.
Yeah.
In this, like, this space that is the mirror image of hers, because it's kind of like, I feel like that's symbolic of this, path.
Yeah, I know. I love that. I mean, that's what, chapter 4 or 5? Are we banging already?
I know. Well,
I mean, I'm good with it. A girl just wants to know. Just trying to orient myself as to
a little bit further in, just depending on how long some of those scenes go, because we had the bad date, then we had her talking to her sister, and then we had the good date. No, you're right. I'd still go 5, but anyway, because they went all the way through the date, went home, had the goodnight kiss, and then she sees in the peephole. Then she goes across, then is like, maybe they just reference the sex, but they don't actually do it. So it's kind of like, you could teach me that. And he's like, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, let's make him fight it a little bit longer. It's sexy when they fight it, especially if it's like he's kissed her, it's better than he thought it was going to be, and he's got pants feeling. So let's torture his ass for a little bit.
Yeah. And it could be that like she's not ready to, like, she just experienced the kiss. It was not like she thought it would be. She needs a little processing time.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to get to oral first. Come on. Like, let's.
Okay, so I think at this point, we need to see her dance. So the next chapter, she shows up for rehearsals that are kicking off. She's like the lead ballerina on a new production of something that will be symbolic.
Yes, something. I love how we're like, it's something symbolic, like something that symbolizes what, like her freedom, opening up. Do you want to make it a classical ballet, or is it going to be like some new avant-garde kind of?
I feel like classical.
Okay.
I feel like, I mean, it could go either way. You're right, but an achiever who
like
her parents is like very classical.
Yes, is classical. Well, I mean, yeah, no, it would be classical. I mean, the epitome is always Swan Lake, but maybe by the end she pulls the center stage and like joins like a whole new ballet company where she's more freedom.
That makes sense, because I'm like, that would be her goal. But then if that's your goal on page 1, what do you have to achieve? Nothing.
Right?
Like that.
You gotta go to the Swan Lake.
All right. So she's starting practice for something that is challenging, but she's also like completely has the skills and is going to nail it. Like, that's not really.
Yeah. She just like clicks on work mode and her brain, because she like dreams of so much more. And she's like, well, because maybe she has like some reference with her sister. She's like, well, what if no one asked me? Sure, we were put in dance class, but I wanted hip hop. Nobody asked. Everyone just said I had great feet, and all I ever got were ballet classes. What if I want to tap? What if I could be traveling with Stomp right now, or whatever the case is? But she wanted more, and she's like kind of rattling that cage a little bit.
What if too, like, we see her dance for the first time, but it's like in a way she's danced a zillion times before, but it feels different now that she's had this super kiss. She notices the fabric of her clothes differently, and the way she moves feels slightly different, because like now she knows like the rhythm that his tongue was using in her mouth to like mimic something, But
now also she has because like Swan Lake is about love, but really sex. And like now it's like you can understand and feel the music once you've had the pants feelings. You're like, oh,
yeah,
this has a whole other meaning.
she had like the mechanics down so perfectly that no one could potentially ever like sort of question her competence, but she didn't feel it viscerally. And now she feels it.
Yes. And especially maybe, well, I mean, is this the first time we're seeing her dance? If it's the first time, then like her like director's got to be like, there's something different about you tonight. Like you're feeling it for the first time.
Yeah.
Because that would make more sense if we saw her dance at the beginning, or maybe like maybe she's coming from practice and being yelled at. Like he's like, you're technically perfection, but you're not feeling it. And maybe she gets that note, so then it comes back full circle, like half circle, to be like, now you're like, this is what I've been talking about. Yeah. Where have you been this whole time?
Like watching her.
Yeah. Yeah, because if she makes nothing sexier than dance eye contact. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what if then they have practice, it goes great. Again, it's like a high point. And then she gets called into someone's office of like whatever. And Bodyguard comes with because he cannot be deterred. And she's like, am I in trouble? She's like nervous, like what's going on? I don't usually get called into like the head person's office. And he shows that they got like a threatening something.
Yes. Yes. Threatening something. Yeah.
And it was like addressed to her, but also clear enough that they didn't just like pass it on as mail. You know what I mean? Maybe it was like dead roses or something.
Yeah, well, dead roses with a snake inside. I mean, if we're going to do it, do it.
Go all the way.
All the way.
So
no half-assing here.
This is going to make Bodyguard want to go into full,
lockdown,
red alert situation.
Yes.
And she's going to be like, listen, I agree. It's creepy. And yes. I have a bodyguard 24/7, AKA you. So no one can say I'm actually not doing the thing right now. I have a bodyguard.
Right.
And what are you really suggesting? That I don't do the show? And
he's like, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Let your understudy dance.
And she's going to be like, absolutely not.
Under no circumstances.
If I were to bow to this, first of all, I'd probably never dance again because there's a bunch of creeps out there. So this is not even like a one-time thing. And it would be letting the bullies win. And you know how I feel about that, Nana.
Yes. Bullies don't win. Bullies don't win.
Unfortunately, there are times that they do, but she's going to not want them to. And she's going to...
Listen, I believe in comeuppance. So like at some point, I'm sorry, I'm high consistency. There must be comeuppance. And sometimes I am the comeuppance. Sometimes it's me. It's me. Sometimes I gotta be the comeuppance. I'm like, well, karma didn't get you.
And you're like, no one else is doing it. So
here I am. The number of times my mouth has been the comeuppance, and my husband is always like, you didn't even leave him anything to stand on. I'm like, no, why would you? Annihilate, eviscerate. What's the problem? And he's like, somebody left that conversation crying. I'm like, yes, they did. Is there any other way to be? Don't do nothing and you won't get comeuppance. Come on.
I have not given almost, I think, any comeuppance in my life.
We can fix it, Skye. Sometimes it's in an email too. Like, ooh, the way I roll up my sleeves. The kinds of emails that I've written, but like not sent. I don't address emails right away for everyone's safety.
That's good thinking. That's planning ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's because I know myself. That's because I don't like a bully. And so when bullies happen, I tend to be like, because I am not good.
Okay. So she's like, I can't let this guy win. I'm going to do my show. And he's like, ooh, I just had a thought. What if he tries to convince her not to, but even he kind of gets it, right? Like, I mean, because he's not dumb. He gets that, like, that there's no specific end date to this situation. And
yes.
Even though he wants her to be safe. And I think also he could even understand that if this were any other client, he would understand they have to do their job. And like, that's why he's there. But it's just because he's started to care about her. Like he can't even hide the thought, but he'll eventually. And then what if, okay, so he knows that him just being there is not enough. So what if now he calls in his band of brothers, AKA Bodyguard?
Yes, for a future series. Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be the series name is Bodyguard Buddies.
We're going to workshop that, you guys. We're going to workshop that.
So he calls them in so they can do like the good, solid protection detail of like her opening.
Yes, but we need the part where we get a little like razzle dazzle of her being obstinate and maybe a little not listening. We need her rebellion to come out a little bit more. Like he's got to tell her to do something or have it be something. And she decides like, he's like, you can do this, but now we're going to do X, Y, Z. And she's like, too restricted. Like she's just going to agree. Because in the moment, it just seems like the thing to do. And then she's like, I'm just going to do what I want. So we need that moment to show her
is like
rebellion.
I know. I want her to be rebellious. The problem is with safety stuff is that like if you're rebellious and then something bad happens to you, it just feels like
you were too stupid to live.
Right. Which like I don't necessarily think is always fair, you know? I mean, again, because I think it's easy to be like, we're in a romantic suspense novel. Of course you need to be more careful, but when you're actually living your life, you want to do things that require a little bit of risk.
Okay, maybe there's like that party thing that she needed him to be a date for. So maybe we have that, and we need her to have a reason to be rebellious and be like, well, it's just for a second. I'm just going to check on my sister or whatever.
Yes. So what if,
right? Because that makes sense and that doesn't make her too stupid to live.
Right. What if, her sister always seems like she has it all together. And then she has a little breakdown where she admits, I mean, like anyone would be, I think it's like, that's such even if it was no one's fault, like it's such an unfortunate imbalance between sisters. You know what I mean? This one is this superstar ever since being a child. And then here's this regular person who's trying to be like, I guess it's cool, you know?
Well, I mean, her sister's still a powerhouse, but her sister's not. Her sister's like a CEO powerhouse, not.
Yeah, but I think even being a CEO powerhouse, like you would know, you weren't the one that the entire household made adjustments.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
I think that's an interesting like corollary between them where the way he grew up, even though it was for a totally different reason, it was for his brothers. Yeah. He was also part of this pair of siblings where one got all the attention and the other was sort of left to fend for themselves and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're the same kind of frog.
Yeah.
As Theodore Taylor calls it. Which, I mean, and that's essentially what the Enneagram said, that the two of them will have so many things that are similar that it's like this easy, like, at least that part is easy. But her rebelliousness and her need to buck the system slightly is going to cause some issues. So they go to this party thing and like her and her sister are having a moment. Maybe she's like, okay, let me just get you. Either let me go get you something and she doesn't even think because she's worried about taking care of her sister. Or someone is like, oh, hey, your sister is in such and such room. And she's like freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she doesn't see any, like, they're in a big party room. Like, so the bodyguards are there. But she's like, oh, it's just right here. I've got bodyguards on site. Nothing's going to happen.
So then something actually goes wrong?
Yes.
Okay. Bad guy shows up for real. And there were all these like potential red herrings, but it's going to be like one particular guy. Ooh, it could be another red herring, which like I would steal from Only Murders in the Building. Have you watched that?
I have not.
It's really good.
Is it?
A of all. It's really good. B of all. What if he's like this obsessive stalkery dude who like corners her, and it's just like, I love you so much. Like, I just have to. He clearly stalked her and cornered her. Like, this is negative. Bodyguard.
Oh yeah, like what if he's even like a ballet donor? Because it's like they have all these like it's a donor party. It's like a big one.
That is what I was thinking, but I was like, what if this guy, he's obsessed with her, but ultimately not trying to harm her? Like he's
exactly. He's not the dead roses and a snake stalker.
Exactly.
He's just a I just want to touch your skin stalker. Wear it like a skin suit.
But he sort of her enough and is like creepy enough that they actually like when Bodyguard comes running in, he slams him to the ground and like has him arrested.
Yeah.
And they're like, where'd you get that snake, buddy? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yep. And then so they have him arrested. They try and question him. He doesn't give up any goods, but he had cornered her and was scaring her and was like, I have a lock of your hair from 4 years ago, whatever. So it's terrifying. And then Bodyguard takes her home and she's like, I don't want to be alone. And he's like, okay. And then they bone. That's exactly where it was leading. Like in her. Or we can even do he takes her home, but he's freaked out because he cares about her. And she did this irresponsible thing. Is like, all you had to do was come and get one of us. All you had to do was come to me and I would have taken you to your sister or whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. And it could be like a fighty and then they bone.
Right. She can always like wear him down, to the point of like, and I'm supposed to come to you for every single thing I need, like for the rest of my life. And he can be like, I'm actually just mad because like, I'm not supposed to care about you, but I do,
Yes. Cause like he's got to be mad and then she's got to start crying and he's got to be like broken down and like vulnerable. Like, it's just because I care about you and I'm not supposed to. And then she's like, you care about me? What? And he's going to be like very like kind of like broody about it and like kind of like back her up. Like, what do you think I've been doing this whole time?
Yeah.
Caring about you, silly, except hotter. And bitch, get on the bed.
And being like kind of mad, like I don't want to care. I want to have control all the time. Like that's how I was going to keep
all the time
safe after a childhood of helplessness is I was going to have control.
Yes.
I'm in this situation where I don't have any control, mostly because I'm falling for you.
Yep. Now open your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you can think of a sexier way to say that, but yeah, bend over. I mean, whichever.
She's going to be super flexible. He's going to be very strong. He's like physically bigger than her, like she's like to be the best ballerina ever. Like she has the body type and the whole thing. And so she's little and he's big and things happen. Things progress accordingly.
I love that. Like, I'm like, Skye, get into the nitty gritty. And she's like, things progress. Skye, it's like you like to pretend no one's actually read your words. Like, I'm like, Skye.
Who would write such a thing? I don't.
You bitch, you. It was you.
Yeah, no, like I think you were right. Like they're gonna play it like, even though this is not part of the pretend date or whatever, I think she'll bring it up. Like, show me, teach me, And he's gonna be like this and show her things. And
show her lots of things.
He'll show her
all the things.
Yeah. Starting with like him kneeling and her standing. And
yes, he should be on his knees. Like, let's be real.
Yes. And she's going to like have the strongest legs ever, but they're like folding in under the onslaught of this, right?
Yes. I mean, as they should.
Mm-hmm. And like, he has stamina for days and so does she. So we're talking athletic.
Yeah. He's going to miss a security briefing. They're going to spend a lot of time using up their stamina.
And then what if we get a little like, because she had this creepy guy, like she had the snake thing that freaked her out. You know what I mean? She's if she still wants to have her independence, like she understands when things are creepy. So she's had, the snake thing. And then she had just had this guy corner her. So what if like they have sex, she falls asleep and she wakes up with a nightmare and he's right there and he
Yes.
and this time they have sex again, but it's like instead of being like athletic teaching sex, it's like emotional, slow, intimate sex.
Yeah. And they keep that up for a while because, intimate sex just takes longer.
Yeah. It's hilarious how much books have changed in terms of like what used to be steamy is now like pretty tame, and what used to be
Oh my
around
God.
is now just like
Do you remember when it was like scandalous to see a blowjob on page?
Did you ever read Lisa Marie Rice? She wrote like romantic suspense. She had some books with Alora's Cave way back. And she writes a lot of like military guys or whatever, or like ex-Navy SEAL type that guys. And she was I mean, she wrote for Alora's Cave, right? Like it was erotic romance at the time.
Uh-huh.
15 years ago. Her books were like ridiculously erotic to me. Like, I mean, I was like, these are so hot. But even for them, it was sort of tame, like what they did. Like they would always just do missionary, like almost never strayed in any way, shape or form. But like it was really hot to read. But the other thing that was always of note is that like they would go for literal hours like that. I'm talking
Yes, right?
literal hours and hours and hours of missionary. And like he would just make her come and then like an hour later, like I'm not an hour later, but like she'd come again and just like all night. Like it was very clear.
Because like in my head, I'm like, that's a UTI waiting to happen. And I just
it would be so messy, but I don't
I hope she got up to pee. Like I really hope she got up to pee.
She was like in this one of her books, which is On the Run, there was this moment where he realized he needed to leave in the middle of the night. But he didn't realize it before then. So like he takes her home, they start having sex at like this sort of regular hour. And then at 4:30 of still having sex, 4:30 a.m., his like alarm goes off. He's like, oh no, I need to go.
Listen, people, you need to hydrate. Okay.
These are both athletes. So I just feel like, I mean, if anyone could pull off such antics, like it is.
Yes. I'm here for the antics, girl. I am here.
So she has the nightmare. He comforts her. They have the intimate sex. Then what? I feel like we're actually getting close to
We're close.
What's the dark moment?
Let's see. Yeah. Dark moment.
It's like the actual creeper, the snake guy.
Is it the director?
It might be the director, or that's what I was thinking, or someone else who's at the school that we've seen before.
Her ballet competition? The understudy?
Oh,
I don't like making the heroines the villains women, but
I don't like
solidarity.
I really do like that it's a surprise because
yes,
we were so focused on the dating situation.
Yeah.
And she's like, I almost had you. That guy was trying to get you to not dance.
Yeah.
Okay. And she's like, well, since you did not listen any other way, I'm going to have you. I'm just like, the only thing that's coming to mind is like Tanya Harding right now.
Oh, wait, no, but we still have. Okay, we can tie that up. I was going to say we still have like parental pressure, boppity boppity bop.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been tied in a little bit before. Like maybe he would have had to fake date her to like go to the house or something, or
yes. Yeah, so we would have had a chapter or two before where it had to be like, and this is my boy.
Date, because the thing is, they know who he really is. So it would almost be like a reverse fake date. Like they're actually dating, basically.
Yes.
And they have to go pretend to just be regular bodyguard and bodyguard.
Yes.
And can't hint that.
So is this okay? So what? So they bone for real, and we're like, yay! And they got to go to her parents and be like, we're real. We're bodyguards.
Right.
We boning.
And
oh, what if? And then like, what if he fingers on her, like at lunch with her parents?
Yeah. And the sister is going to catch them probably and be like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And
What in the hell?
And she's going to be like, you're the one who insisted I have this guy. And she's like, for protection, not for this.
And she's like, oh, I'm protected.
I know.
It's a full bodyguard situation. He's guarding my body.
Oh, what if her sister gets annoyed with her? Like, you are so, like, this is her sister saying, you are so determined to be rebellious that you're turning even this into something else. Like, what if she interprets it?
Yes. I dig that because that's like the little thing with the sister. Yes, because then we wonder, is it the sister?
Yeah. And I just think, a little bit of her jealousy would come out, which I do actually think is just sort of normal. Like, I don't think
That's
you
normal.
have that kind of a sister relationship without one being sometimes like, do I wish I was the other one? Like, so she has an argument with her sister. They go back. I think the better the bodyguard, the tougher it is for the bad guy to like actually get his hands on her,
Yeah.
But he's going to achieve it. Like he's going to get the guy
somehow.
Away. Like he's going to hear from one of his bodyguard buddies. We're trademarking that, just so you know. He's going to
No, not bodyguard buddies.
But he's going to hear from one of his bodyguard buddies. They need urgent help. And he's like, not going to question it because this is his buddy. So he's like, all right, lock the door. Don't come out for anything. I'm just going to be gone. I'll be right back. He's like, okay, I got it. And then.
Oh, yeah. Especially if it's at the theater. The word just escaped me. So like they're at the theater and he like gets an urgent radio. He's like, we think we may have like, there's someone seen leaving, boppity boppity bop. And so he's like, stay here, lock the door behind me, don't let anyone in. But,
And then obviously,
and then
in this moment of like crucial safety, she will actually obey him. It's just something will still happen where she'll get in that guy's clutches. Like maybe there's like another entrance to this room.
Oh, yeah. And the understudy, understudy's got a key. It's just the green room.
Understudies, yeah, very sketchy. I mean,
understudy, look, understudy knows how to pick a lock. Tales of a Misspent Youth. Understudy is not playing.
Okay, so understudy gets a hold of her and is like, ooh, what if it's like a double whammy? What if she's like, I tried to just freak you out, didn't work. Which in a way, I feel like it ups the heroine street cred, right? Like that she did not bow down to this person. But, now she's in her clutches and she's like, you know what I'm going to do? Like, I have to get rid of you. And, it's not that trivial to like get rid of a body. Maybe she can even allude to the fact that like she's done this before at a different dance company. And it's actually a pain to get rid of a body. So I figured this out that I have like XYZ. Maybe it was someone they met at the party, the like sort of sponsor ballet party, but not the actual creep. Like I've sold you to him and he's going to take you away. And therefore I will get this part. And
yes.
So she gets taken captive by this bad guy. It's looking rough. Oh, you know what we didn't?
Yes.
I don't know if we want to do this. We didn't do any kind of like where he like teaches her to fight or like teaches her self-defense or like
a training montage. I love a training montage. You know how I love a training montage. Well, that would be like earlier on.
It would be early.
While they're fake dating.
Right.
And he's like, you at least have to be able to do some basics.
Yes.
I love that every book, it's like you train her for like 3 days and you expect her to be some like Krav Maga champion.
I know. I actually have mixed feelings about that. That's why I was like, I don't know if we want to do it because I obviously love it for the reasons of physically touching before you are actually having sex.
Oh, yeah.
From like a standpoint of I got a black belt and from that I learned that size matters a lot. And if
it does.
You feel about it, like it matters a lot. And all of the pressure points in the world are not gonna.
Size matters so much. Like one of the things I learned in martial arts was like, especially for women, because we are smaller physically, you don't ever want to get in a situation where you're going to have to like actually fight it out, like toe to toe. Your advantage is your legs are strong and you can be faster, because it does take more momentum to get heavier, bigger muscles going. It just does. And so your advantage is be quick and run, like hit quickly and move. Like you're not match for match. You don't want that. If you are in that scenario, you are in a lot of trouble.
What if it's less of like, I mean, whether or not we did the montage just for fun, what if the way she gets out of it still isn't like a combat situation? What if it's more of something that he told her about, like strategy? What is she going to do? Like wait till they're not in the room. And then does she know how to pick a lock? What if she picked locks when she was young? Because they would always lock her in her room.
Oh, I like it. And she's rebellious enough to do that. So she's a lock picker.
Yeah. So she's going to get out and then do something absolutely wild, like tie up the bad guy with like her ballerina pink ribbons and like.
Like she's got to hit him over the head with like a bottle of champagne.
Yes.
Like give me some physical something.
And so then she gets out onto the street and he like finds her there, you know, so they like meet in the middle.
Like, and she's like running away or barefoot or something. And then he scoops her up and he's like, I've got you.
Cutie.
And then they go home and bone. Or bone in the limo on the way home, or I mean, I don't know.
Go home and bone. Yeah.
Or are we going to have it be that he has to give her up? Which I don't know. Because the job's over now.
Yeah. What if that does actually end it? Like there's a ticking clock on their relationship and it ends it. And so someone has to be the person to like restart it. You know what I mean? Ooh, I got it. Okay. What if they end it? And what if I'm thinking of like what if he's just like at the next ballet event or whatever, and he like hits on her at the bar, like playfully as if way.
Yes. I like that.
And she could have been like, oh, when they were fighting about Tinder, she could have been like, do you think I enjoy getting like 5 dick pics a day? Like, this is how we're told to do it now. You know what I mean? No one is like picking me up at a bar. And
or like I'm not meeting anyone in real life who approaches me and, you know, tells me I'm the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. And if he could spend the next 5 minutes just talking to me, he would be so happy. Oh my God, that's perfect. And then he comes and he says that to her.
I know. And then they get to date for real.
For real. Forever and ever and ever. And yes, in the bonus epilogue, they're going to get engaged and have a baby. God damn it.
We didn't even do a regular epilogue.
Oh, fine. In the epilogue, he's going to propose in the epilogue. And then
I feel like in the epilogue, he proposes on like maybe, I don't even know how long a show runs, but maybe like the final night of the show or something like that.
Well, I mean, it'll just keep, depending on like the production, it could just be like, yes, this version of Swan Lake, blah, 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 just goes forever. But it could be that he could propose on the anniversary of when they met at the same restaurant.
Oh, but like the fun restaurant though.
Yeah, the fun restaurant.
The anniversary of their first date.
Yes. Especially something funny, really funny happened on their date. And she was like, oh my God, this weird eat with my hands. Yes. This is a cute story.
It's a cute story. Okay, so that's the epilogue. The bonus, having babies is tricky when you're trying to be the super ballet.
A ballerina, I'm telling you.
But yeah, we were giving her a goal of like, she wanted to be more creative.
Yeah.
I
so
think
maybe
with your achiever, you know, like.
She wants her own dance company. Like, come on.
Okay. So she
has for real.
Being number one at someone else's dance company and then be like, okay, that was fun.
Because she wants the freedom and wants to be a little bit rebellious and And maybe she wants to do ballet to hip. Maybe she wants to do a Save the Last Dance and do some ballet to some hip hop, or hip hop to some ballet.
For a while there, I was really living for the like TikTok redos of Save the Last Dance. Did you ever see those?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, but how did we think that Julia Stiles passed? Like, that movie made no sense.
It made no sense, but it was wildly compelling. I mean, the TikTok replays are compelling, which I think it says.
Yes.
Oh, like
it does. It does. Oh my gosh. We've just plotted a whole book.
We just did a whole book. Okay. What is the title? Is it Protecting the Ballerina?
Ballerinas and Bodyguards.
The Ballerina and the Bodyguard.
Ooh, the Ballerina and the Bodyguard. Because see, I was being facetious before, but now I'm like, oh.
They do both.
I like a little alliteration.
I know.
I like the Ballerina and the Bodyguard.
I like it too. I just feel like you get it right there.
You do. You're like, okay, so she's a dancer and he's her bodyguard. I can just see the TikToks about some friend telling some other friend, be like, okay, oh my God.
Yes. And you have ballet shoes on the cover.
Yeah.
Maybe mixed with like...
I wish like that something else said bodyguard that wasn't a gun. Right? Because like...
I know. You don't... Yeah, it's not that cute to put a gun with ballet shoes.
And you can't make ads.
Fair.
Because my friend Skye Warren taught me to think about those kinds of things.
I have never actually, I hadn't thought about that because I hadn't had a gun on one of my covers, I think, ever. So I had never even tried it specifically.
I do a lot of bodyguards, many assassins, all the assassins. And yeah, no guns.
Alrighty. Okay. So I feel like ballet shoes are always striking on a cover.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe that...
Oh, maybe ballet shoes with like a bloody flower.
Yes. Or I just don't know, like with dress shoes? Maybe with like a watch or a tie or something. So it's like...
Yeah. Yeah, like the ballet shoes and some cufflinks.
I like that.
Because he's obviously got to own the security company and be very fabulously wealthy because...
Or like ballet shoes and a belt.
Oh, and a belt.
It's about finding the right stock for that, but...
Yeah.
Okay. So the question, Nana, is...
Yes.
If readers enjoyed hearing The Ballerina and the Bodyguard, what book of yours should they start with?
Oh. I mean, depends on what aspect they liked of it. But I'll say they should start with Cheeky Royal, Undercover Bodyguard, and the little role reversal, the girl's the bodyguard. She's sent to bodyguard the prince, who obviously doesn't want or need a bodyguard. It's the first in my Winston Isles Royal saga, which is literally all bodyguarding. And it's a series of duets. So Cheeky Royal is a place to start. And it's a little lighter, but there's a lot of royal intrigue and mystery suspense as to who the actual baddie is. And you will not get it. If you do get it, I owe you a cupcake or something if you figure it out at the beginning of the book, because no one ever has. I usually get a lot of emails like, what do you mean it's all out? And I'm like, I sit up trying to make twists. But yeah, Cheeky Royal is a place to start. And then it leads into a whole other world that's just the royal bodyguard. So that's the best place to go for me.
I love it. Okay. Cheeky Royal. Well, we'll put the links to that in the show notes so you guys can click it and read Cheeky Royal by Nana Malone. And I hope that you enjoyed The Ballerina and the Bodyguard. Thank you so much, Nana.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me, Skye. That was so fun. Now I want to go write that book and make that happen.
Thank you so much for listening to Storytime with Skye. I hope you enjoyed the story we crafted this week. Please subscribe so you don't miss a new episode, and leave a review so that other listeners can find our show. We always put links for any books we discuss, as well as books by the guest author in the show notes. So you can definitely find something new to read. And if you want to help choose our romance adventure, be sure to join our Facebook group, Storytime with Skye. That's where we gather suggestions and poll our readers, just like you, to find out what our next story will be. Thank you for being part of the story.
Welcome to the story. It's story time with Skye.